Jady Bates. Welcome to the Decisive Moment. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you and to have you open up a bit of your world for us, and we appreciate your time. So I want to remind you how this thing works. You have chosen 3 photos for us today to go in depth and explore that highlight some moments in your career. But before that, we just want to talk a bit generally to get to know you a little bit better.
Sounds good.
How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So the first thing I want to ask you, I know there's a lot of your photos where you focus somewhat on abuse and hardships and justice and equality. Why those topics?
That's a good question. I appreciate the question. For me, photography is a voice, and I want to be provocative. I want to make a statement. I want to cause people to think. You know, a lot of people say what is art for? It's to make people think, and hopefully it challenges some people's perspectives. Maybe it makes some people uncomfortable. Maybe it starts a discussion. You know, the greatest thing about photography, I think, is that, you know, you can try and explain it and use all your words, but when you look at a photo, it's visceral. You feel something. If it makes an impact, it's done its job. It's the intangibles. When you see a photo and you feel something, you know, and that maybe creates space for a discussion or meaning, and even maybe comes up later in life.
You have an extensive collection of photos, and one I remember, there's a woman in a red dress holding a paycheck, like a large check, and that, if nothing else, facilitates discussion. What is that photo about?
So I was trying to express a really jaunting way of saying, you know, there's not equality in women getting paid in the workforce. There's a lot of issues there, and I wanted something that would just grab people's attention right away. And it was fun to, you know, make that big paycheck and have Beth. I've worked with her a number of times, and she was great for that shoot. She was really great.
There's another one in this list that you gave us. There's a man with a crown next to him, and he's in all black, and he's kind of looking down like this, and there's something else. Are those goggles over his eyes?
Yes. So that's Favali. He was a good friend, and was really good with letting me practice many different kinds of light. And this theme will reoccur as we go through some of my photos, but I really collaborate, and the most important thing with the models for me is improv. So that moment kind of revealed itself. I was having him wear the crown, and I really wanted to try and elicit, you know, some silliness, some fun with some import, and he just got into this kind of, for me it was a genius pose, because it almost looks like, you know, something reminiscent of something Andy Warhol would do or something. I loved that pose that he came up with, and you just never know what's going to arise for me when I'm in the shoot collaborating with a model.
So what, of the 3 photos, let's talk about the 3 photos you've chosen for us. What is the first photo you've chosen for us today?
The first photo is the Slants, and I did press photos for them in November, and that was a new level in my career, because that is my dream. You know, take photos of musicians and artists. Yes, please, more of that. And that was just a great opportunity. All the timing worked out. So 2 weeks before that session, I was talking with my mentor and other photographer friends, and there's, you know, keep it simple, do your basic white, and, you know, keep it simple. Yep, I can do that. But I had this idea. I wanted to try something, and with cardboard and gaffer tape, I made these snoots, you know, to pinpoint the light in a more focused way. And looking back, I ended up making slants of light that to be held over each member of the slants. And was practicing. My husband was out of town that week, and I was practicing with all these different lights. I tried Hollywood floodlights and a bigger strobe, and so I'd have to keep remaking the cardboard and gaffer tape snoots. They were really cool. They were artistic, so we did the basic white, and we got some good press photos that way. And then I said, hey, can I try some experimental lighting? And I knew that studio that I rented only had one boom. So I had two friends that were assisting me from a darkroom consortium I'm part of, and they're both really tall guys. So I knew I only had one boom, so I used the guys to hold the strobes with those snoots made right over them, on ladders and furniture and things. So it was really kind of adventurous, and that it all worked was really fun, and I loved how the light turned out. And then that pose was really edgy to me. It's totally...
That's provocative, right?
Yeah.
It all comes up in so many ways.
Yes.
It's obvious questions,
yes.
right? For it. I don't know if you would agree, play into some of your previous work, and they facilitate those discussions. What was the reaction from the group, the Slants?
They loved it. They really liked the lighting, and I'm interested to see how they use it in the future. I think it's a signatory of their activism, and I don't think too much explanation needs to go with it, because when you see it, it's going to provoke some feelings. It's going to provoke some reaction.
What is the second photo you've chosen?
The second photo is one, again, of Beth Dodge, who we did a body image series where this last photo in the series has positive words painted on her. And she's a very rare model in that she knows her angles, and she knows how she looks, and she can do almost anything you want, like a great model. But many experienced models I've worked with just know certain poses, and they do the same poses all over again. And she can, again, improv. It's almost a riff in the moment. And when I set up this photo, we'd originally had two models that we were going to use in this series. But at the last moment, one of them canceled. So Beth and I scrambled to kind of figure out how are we going to do this concept, which is hers. It was her concept idea. I did the lighting, the background, things like that. How are we going to do negative? We first painted on negative words, and then we decided to kind of rub them out so it looked like on the body they were being smeared off, and then paint on the positive ones. So this last photo is the positive body image words of her looking, really confident and facing the camera. And this is the most awarded photo I've had so far. So this is part of a series showing in Barcelona in April, and it won finalist in Women Seen by Women. So that's really exciting.
What were some of these negative words?
Okay, let's see if I can remember. The negative words, I think we had fat, pimply, old, dumb, kind of stereotypical words that women would hear a lot.
And then I saw, when those were rubbed off, I saw smart, ageless, right?
Proportionate, right, across her chest. Radiant, I think, on her cheek. Yes. Trying to find empowering words.
I also noticed there was tape covering her breast as she was censored. What was the idea behind doing that?
Well, as you know, Instagram can censor your things and take them down, and we really wanted to get the series out there, so we didn't want it taken down. That's a real problem for artists on Instagram, Free the nipple.
Tell me about the third photo. What'd you choose, and why'd you choose it?
So I chose this one. This model, Blonde LeBlanc, is another rare model who not just knows her angles, but can just riff in the moment. And she allowed me to use, again, I used an experimental snoot for this. And she allowed me in the shoot. We didn't have any plan. It wasn't a series. I just was trying all different sorts of light. And the collaboration that happened, I do a lot of planning for poses and ideas. I approach every shoot like that. But in the moment when you're with the other person, with the model, what reveals itself is totally improv, and what you end up creating together is such a collaboration. You can't predict these things, and you can't plan them. So in that photo, I had this snoot on behind her, and she was wearing a Venetian mask, and it's just very indicative of improv in my work, but also experimentation. I can't tell you how important I think that is, because it's about the process for me in art. It's about experimenting. I never want to do the same thing. I want to try new things. I don't want all my photos to be the same. I always want to do something different, and I think that really keeps it exciting for me. That's the utter fascination that keeps coming. That's why I keep coming back. That's why I love photography.
How do you find these models? And I also imagine, what's your relationship like with them? Because to collaborate with someone can be difficult. So you must gain trust rather quickly.
I haven't thought about that, but I do. Naturally, I think it's a value that I hold when I meet people for the first time, especially a model. I want to create a safe environment, and if they don't feel like it's working or it's not safe, I tell them right away, let's just stop. Please leave. You do what's going to make you feel comfortable. But how did I meet these models? I met Beth from Model Mayhem, and I think I met Elizabeth from Model Mayhem as well. It's a great resource, especially in Portland, because unlike New York, there's not models on every corner.
I mean, there's not models on every corner here, just most corners. And then finally, I want to ask you personally, are these, especially these projects with these young women, these women models that you use, and some of the strong words or stereotypes that you're breaking down, is this a personal fight? I mean, are you an activist?
Yes, I hope most of us are. I'm not maybe out marching every day, but this is my way of being an activist. I got a grad degree in conflict resolution, and for a short time pursued a PhD in peace and conflict studies. So, these issues are important. I want to do more.
Great. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with or add?
Really invest yourself in the process. Experiment. It doesn't matter where you are or what kind of equipment you have. I started with a thrift store camera with a plastic lens, and I made a show in New York, and that was amazing.
With a thrift store camera and a plastic lens?
Yes, I made the crappy camera show at Soho Photo Gallery, and anyone can do it anywhere. Start with a cell phone. Start with anything. Make art. I think that inspires love and activism and breaks down barriers, and I just hope to see more of that in this world.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of the Decisive moment.
Oh,
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.